Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. I'm I'm seeming to have some kind of glitch, so I'm going. I'm hoping to get through this. That I'm having some computer glitches. So let's see. Here we go. I think I'm on. All right. Yeah, I had some trouble kind of signing on, but let me try it again. Welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. Currently, we are in Matthew chapter 27, and um, we're at the trial of Jesus, and what is amazing about this trial What is amazing about this trial is that by um, Pilate standards, uh, it's a sham. He will declare Jesus innocent, but yet convict him, and will convict him of of a crime that he won't even specify what the crime is. But out of politics, um, hmm, all right, I think. Well, I don't think that this is. I don't know if this is. Anyway, so he will convict Jesus for a crime he didn't commit. And by the way, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Um, Roman crucifix were reserved for the worst of criminals. It was the harshest of punishments. So for um, so for Pilate to do this, for Pilate to do this, to give him the most um, severe punishment is in itself interesting. Okay, so um, before we get back into it, let me say this: we talked about Judas. He had an attack of conscience. He betrays Jesus, and this betrayal is you could say one of the most wicked. But uh, it's here you have Judas, who he spends his time with Jesus, 3.5 years, right? He walks with Jesus, talks with Jesus, he eats with Jesus, heard Jesus teaching, saw Jesus miracles. Judas himself goes out and preached the gospel. Judas himself heals the sick, casts out devils, and then harbors this evil in his heart to portray whom he came to know as the Son of God. That's amazing. It also shows you that this is a good example. I kind of showed you Saul's last time, talking about King Saul, because the comparison between Judas and Saul was that both men were wicked in their heart. Although both were, um, they existed in, you can say, religious society. They existed in um, where they were exposed to the knowledge of God. So in other words, in both cases, they did not have any excuse. Then you have King Saul, who proved to be wicked because when he sinned against God and then God rejected him, instead of humbling himself, and then praying, asking for forgiveness, He hung himself. And that act by Saul shows the height of his wickedness because he never humbled himself before God. Now, the same with Judas. And I compared Judas with Saul, but I'm also going to compare Judas with Adam. Now, here is Adam, who was created in perfection, right? The earth was perfect. He enjoyed fellowship with God. In other words, God was present on the earth, we see. And for whatever reason, and it baffles me to no end, that Adam chose to sin against God. He wasn't confused. He wasn't, uh, you know, uh, he made a conscious choice. I am going to rebel against God. So that's always kind of amazing to me that, it's just, again, amazing. So, uh, uh, all right, let's see here. Well, all right. All right, let's go to the scriptures here. Why am I way up here? All right. I know I'm having seem like a lot of trouble today. But anyway, all right. Hold on, let me see here. Okay, again. All righty. All right, so, all right. I think I can get it together here. All right, so, let me go back to verse 1. Because I want to look at something too that I told you. But you see these, to me, kind of two different prongs here of the story. So verse 1 again, when daybreak came, all the chief priests and the elders of the people plotted against Jesus to put him to death. Now I want you to keep that thought in mind, that here are the chief priests, who are the holy men, keepers of the law, right? Pillars of the truth. In other words, their job was to tell the truth, the law. They were to uphold the standard, the high holy standard of God. And notice, the chief priests and elders of the people plotted against Jesus to put him to death. Now, why? They were jealous of Jesus. And it says, after tying him up, they led him away to be handed over to Pilate, the governor. We'll get back to Pilate later. Then Judas, his betrayer, seeing that he had been condemned, was full of remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. I have sinned by betraying innocent blood, he said. And they said, well, what is that to us? Now, this shows the callousness, the evil callousness of their heart. That they thought nothing about their hypocrisy. They thought nothing about their sin. They thought nothing about it. By the way, and now keep this in mind, these are not ignorant people. They knew the law. They they knew the law. And yet, notice this, they thought nothing about, betraying innocent blood. When he says, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. Well, they did too. They gave him the 30 pieces of silver. So watch this. So he said, what is that to us? They said, see it to yourself. So he threw the silver into the sanctuary and departed, and then went and hanged himself. A very, very tragic, sad ending to, you could say, one of the apostles of the Lord. And it also shows, again, this is really the picture of the sinful man, the sinful nature of man. We in our society, we have the facade. We pretend like sin is not sin. You ever watch the tribulation movies? Left Behind, Thief in the Night, Tribulation Force, all of them, whatever. And all of the movies will always show you that sin is not really that bad, like the rapture. So if you ever look at some of these rapture movies, and by the way, they're fiction, but they show usually in some middle class neighborhood when the wife is married to an unbeliever or vice versa, and that she's been telling them, you need to accept Jesus in your heart. You need to say the sinner's prayer, right? You need to pray, Lord, I accept you into my heart. I admit I'm a sinner. Come into my heart. Okay. Yes, I'm making fun of the sinner's prayer. So, that's the standard. So then he's like, no, I'm gonna go play golf. And when she tries to tell him, he should come to church with me on Sunday, I'm gonna go play golf, right? Well, I'm gonna sit down and watch the football game. But then really, he's not a bad guy, right? He just haven't said the sinner's prayer, and then the rapture happened, and then all of a sudden, he comes home, and I'm thinking about one of the oldest movies, rapture movies, where the mixer was spinning, right? The guy had the lawnmower, and you have to look at the old-fashioned lawnmowers, where when the rapture happened, the lawnmower is still going. They didn't have propelled at the time. And then people are left behind, and people, are just wondering, like, what happened? They just left, right? But they're nice people. And that's the point I want you to show. They go home to their nice suburbs, and they wonder why the lives all of a sudden they were left behind. But that's not how the Bible pictures it. And right here with Judas, you see that Judas walked with Jesus. So yeah, if you saw him on the street, you saw one of the disciples of Jesus. But his heart was incredibly wicked. So he goes out and he hangs himself. And it's a very gruesome scene too. The Bible tells us that his bowels gushed out. Okay. Again, it was a very gruesome scene. But look at this next verse here, verse 6. The chief priest took the silver and said, "It is not lawful to put it into the temple treasury, since it is blood money." So they conferred together and bought the potter's field, and with it a burial place for foreigners. Therefore the field has been called Blood Field to this day. Then what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled. They took this 30 pieces of silver of him who price was set by the Israelites, and they gave them for a potter's field, as the Lord directed me. Now, one of the interesting things about this phrase here, I want to deal with it before I come back and deal with the Pharisees. He says that then what was fulfilled through the prophet Jeremiah. Now, it's interesting, this phrase. Let me show you right here. Let me show you what Jeremiah said. And then I'm going to show you another verse where it seems that, which actually comes from. So, Jeremiah 32. All right, so let me show you Jeremiah 32. And so here's kind of what the reference shows. It says, Jeremiah replied, "The word of the Lord came to me. Watch Hanimel, the son of your uncle Shalmo, is coming to you to say, buy my field at Enoth for yourself, for your own right of redemption to buy it." Then my cousin Himmel came to the courtyard. Excuse me, as the Lord had said. and urged me, please buy my field at Anath in the land of Benjamin for your own right of inheritance and redemption. Buy it for yourself. Then I knew that this was the word of the Lord, so I bought the field and from my cousin Hinah, and I weighed out to him the money, and then it just says 17 shekels of silver. Now, the reason I wanted to show you this, I don't know why this is the one that Matthew refers to when, let's see, let's go to another one. Let's go to Zechariah, and as you will see, Zechariah, I believe I'm 111. Okay. Zechariah 11, and I believe I want 12. So look at this one. So then I said to them, if it seems right to you, give me my wages, but if not, keep them. So they weighed my wages, 30 pieces of silver. And then it says, throw it to the potter. The Lord said to me, this magnificent price I was valued by them. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw it into the house of the Lord to the potter. So right here almost prophesies detail what we're reading with Jeremiah. Now, the reason why I said I just kind of, so actually Zechariah is the one that has more of the accurate prophecy. And I didn't get what Jeremiah was saying. So I'm going to leave that to a scholarly discussion. Why he said that was spoken through Jeremiah the prophet. They took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him whose was set by the Israelites, and they gave them for the potter's house as the Lord directed me. So this was a direct prophecy, a fulfilled prophecy. Okay. And here's another thing too. I'm often wondering, we're going to see a couple of examples of this. The Pharisees, if you go back to the birth of Jesus, and when the wise men came to town, and it stirred people because there was this great company of people that came, and then they were asking for, where is the king going to be born? Then King Herod at the time, again, wicked, he called the scribes and says, hey, where is the prophecy says about the Messiah being born? And they were able to tell him, which tells you that the Jews know what's going on with the prophecy. And so my point is then, as this is happening, I'm just kind of wondering, wouldn't they have to know that they are fulfilling prophecy in a bad way? Now watch it. That they, as they are, it said, when he throws the 30 pieces of the 30 pieces of silver, shouldn't they know that they are actually fulfilling prophecy? I mean, wouldn't they think like, oh, wait a minute, oh, this is talking about us? The answer is that no, that's how wicked they were. See, that's how wicked they were. And look at how, again, and this is religion at its worst. So you start with these men who know the law of Moses. In other words, they can cite this. They know this. That's why I said, as they are saying, hey, we can't take this blood money. Oh, wait a minute. We're fulfilling prophecy. But just like Adam, who made the conscious choice in light of the presence of God to sin. And how this kind of shows you just how bad sin could be, how sin works in the heart of people. I can only say, God, thank you for your mercy. But the hypocrisy here is that when they say you see it to yourself, here again, you see this witness by the betrayer himself. He is innocent. Well, he really didn't have to tell the Pharisees that, because the Pharisees already knew Jesus was innocent. This is why they had to lie. This is why they had to concoct a story and a plot. Remember, they did this at night, so that they did this at night, betrayed him at night, they found Judas and said, let's betray him. Let's do it at night, away from the crowd. And then they're cognitive of this. And so now they know Jesus is innocent. They already know this. They already know, hey, they easily could have said when Judas said, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. We know that. We're the one that gave you the 30 pieces of silver. But then when Jesus ran out, so keep this in mind, he throws the money in the sanctuary, but this is now blood money, so it is too whole. It is not holy. The blood money can't be in the temple, so they say, well, we can't put this money back in the temple. The law tells us it's blood money. And then they said, well, we got to keep the law here. We can't do that. Now, we could frame an innocent man, let alone the Son of God, right? We could frame an innocent man, let alone the Son of God, but the very money that we framed him with, we can't put in the temple treasury because, that wouldn't be right. That's against the law of Moses. See how religion will always derail you and cause the worst hypocrisy in you. And we could multiply that by, in the political landscape of the day, how Bible-believing Christians abandon all of their biblical values to follow one of the most unbiblical man. How religious people do the same from over and over, right? The hypocrisy is always stunning. But and again, just the thought that, man, I guess, what do they think, that God was going to say, attaboy? Yay, you guys did it. Yes, attaboy. Forget framing my son, but you did right by keeping the law, by not putting guilt money into the treasury. That would have went too far, right? That would have went way too far to do that. All right, so we'll pick up in the next we'll pick up in the next study with, again, the trial. And again, it's going to be amazing that this trial, where again you will have people repeatedly say, the man is innocent, the man is innocent, what have we done wrong, the man is innocent, and still turn around and convict the innocent man. I cannot even think that a trial ever happened like that. Now, we have had trials where innocent people were tried and convicted and then even executed. But certainly not with someone saying, we know they're innocent. we know they're innocent, but we're going to do it anyway. Now, usually you have the law that will say, even if they have evidence, they're going to say, well, he's still guilty. We still think he's guilty. All right, guys, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP The Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. And I'll see you in the next study.